And this will be take 3 of the Big Irish Vlog today. First time, it just didn't upload. Second time, serious sound issues, which I believe I have beaten out of my system. In case anybody cares, those of you who know what you're doing will laugh at me. Apparently my system was automatically defaulting to both my external webcam and its system and the internal laptop webcam and its audio system, and that was causing it to, I don't know. But tested a couple times, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be it. First off, I'm wearing my Dare Mighty Things shirt, which is a really awesome shirt, and feels entirely appropriate for what we've accomplished and what we are shooting for. So, welcome to the Big Irish Vlog of 8/11/14. A couple of days, I'm flying to Indianapolis for Gen Con. And before we go to Gen Con, I've got a lot of really cool things to share with you guys. This is a very heavy, Evil Beagle, Shaintar-focused Big Irish Vlog. But for those of you who also watch because you're just generally interested in my thoughts on gaming, stay tuned. There will be a big discussion, or decent discussion of further thoughts about D&D Next / 5th edition. So that's a little bit later in the broadcast. First off, I've been more productive in 3 weeks since getting here. In fact, it's not even 3 weeks. We lost a few days just getting here. Tomorrow is our 3rd week anniversary of actually living in Denver, and inside that period of time, I've been more productive than in any 3-month period since the Kickstarter a year ago. I've talked a lot about this kind of stuff the last Big Irish Vlog, and I promised you guys bi-weekly, or every couple of weeks, and here we are. And so watch the last one if you didn't see it. And it talks about, in fact, we brought Ross Watson on as our managing director, and he has kicked serious ass and taken lots of names. And the transition of me more to a focus on content development and being the talent, with Perrin really stepping in and doing much more with the editor-in-chief part, and the 3 of us partnering up to really become far more productive. And I have evidence thereof, which you will see very, very soon. Let me go ahead and get into this. Guidebook, the Malakar Dominion, is done and is delivered into the hands of Savage Mojo. Now it's on them. They've got the layout, the art, and all of that. And we're all hoping for a 5 or 6 week turnaround, less if possible, but that's kind of the ballpark right now. But the point is, my part in it is done. It was written by Eddie Webb, who did a fantastic knock it out the park job on that. I added a bunch of really cool stuff. Backstab. It has backstab in it. So there's some really, really cool edges and cool mechanical stuff in the Malakar Dominion book. And I think all of the guidebooks are going to result in GMs going, geez, now I've got all these players who want to be from here. Now I have all these players who want to be Goblinesh, which, by the way, is the next guidebook that Corinne is just now finishing up. She's back there right now, finishing the edits on that. So it should be in the hands of Savage Mojo before I even get to Gen Con. So that's 2 guidebooks that are going to be in Savage Mojo's hands. You'll note we've changed the name. These are not guidebook 11 or 2 or whatever. We've removed the numerical structure for the guidebooks. We are going with a branding called Shaintar World of Legends, which those of you who are on the G+ group know that name. And we're going to get them done and out in the order that we get them done and out, because Eddie did his part on Malakar Dominion. Phil Vecchione did the Goblinesh book, and I've had that sitting in my inbox for a while now. We've gone through and done a lot of additional stuff on that. Both those books get to be the first ones out because they got done first. And that's how it's going to be. So we're taking the number thing out. People will still get the guidebooks that they actually wanted, so don't worry about that, but we're just changing how we're presenting them. In addition to those 2 guidebooks done and delivered or about to be, the first of the 4 novellas written by Steve Long called Edge of Honor, it was really called Son of War, but we went with a name change on that one, has been edited and is delivered and is currently in the hands of Savage Mojo. Again, for cover and other stuff. And then finally, one of y'all, David Bibbert, took on the bespoke book option that was done as a real cool bonus, where he could do a personal kingdom thing and have it added as actual printed content in his own personal delivered version of Shaintar Legends Unleashed. That is completed, and because that's some of the best writing, quite frankly, that I have done in a very long time, we're all feeling very excited about it, and David in particular was very excited about seeing this also produced as a standalone product that Evil Beagle will publish in the very near future. So that is a completed project that is now in the pipeline to be laid out, art, and delivered as a product. I've written it, it's done, it's edited, so that's another completed task. So these little things over here, some of them have been ripped off and torn up and new ones added on because we are producing and developing finally. And then finally, if you look on Shaintar.com's front page today, and if you look for messages all over where I post, you will see that I have delivered freely into the hands of everybody who wants one a copy of the Shaintar monochrome version of the new map, the 2014 revised Shaintar map, which has all the new backer kingdoms and towns and villages and user-created content stemming from the Justice and Life Shared World campaign. All that's on the new map. Alita Saxon, you rock. Get the thumb in there. Yeah, you rock. So she did a fantastic job on that. There's a color one coming as well, and that will be down the road, but the monochrome one is gorgeous. It's clean. She took all that dense information and turned it into something anyone could look at and go, ah, this makes sense. I see what I'm looking at with the cool symbols for, you know, if you're in the wildlands or if you're in a Goblinesh gather. She did an amazing job. Also, very much thank you to the flock, the Ravens flock, who helps me run Justice and Life, for helping go through that map and make sure that it was as best as it could be. So, 2 guidebooks, Malakar Dominion and Goblinesh, 1 novella, a cool new product, which is basically a city supplement, and the Shaintar map. All done as of now. And we're rolling forward. So that's exciting stuff I want to make sure that I keep you guys appraised of. Second of all, what's coming next? Shaintar's writer guide, the writer's guide for the Shaintar. Now this is an internal project primarily because what it's designed for is to get into the hands of other people who want to write for and do content for Shaintar. But in creating this, I'm communicating tone, I'm communicating basic structures and basic concepts and ideas about Shaintar, which is very important both to the productivity, but also might be kind of a fun thing for some of you guys to look at if you're really interested in the process, as well as just getting a stronger sense of what Shaintar is, and if you as a creator, whether you're doing a backstory or as a writer yourself or as a GM, if you wanted to get into the Shaintar content, that will be an interesting thing. So I'm kind of looking at a way to share that out once it gets done, not just with potential writers and creators, but I think it may be a fun thing to share with you guys on the back channels as a, hey, look at the inside and see what Shaintar is about according to the way Sean would tell another writer. So it's a productivity thing that's important for the work, but while I'm doing it, I'm thinking it's going to be fun to share it with you guys. I'm also, yes, I know, magic and cosmology. Let me talk about what's going on there. One of the big stones in the way that I couldn't even get up the hill Sisyphus style was the fact that it's so overwhelming as a project to look at it from the terms of as another guidebook. It's not. So we have, that doesn't mean those who pledged to get it as a guidebook won't get it. We're just changing the internal way we think about this thing. We have removed the whole guidebook onus from it. It is a separate content, a separate project entirely. We have re-outlined it. Ross did a fantastic job of helping me rethink about this thing. We rebooted it completely. It is a standalone project that gets into the magic and cosmology stuff, and it's very detailed in that respect. But now we have a much better structure for it. And again, the flow is going forward. So that one is underway and is exciting. And I'll go ahead and tell you, normally we don't do this kind of thing because this kind of thing gets you in trouble. But I want to be absolutely transparent with you guys who've been waiting a year to hear about this stuff. We have set a hard deadline internally to have this thing ready to go by September 5th, which is right on the corner, right? But the word flow is going. I have the chunks. I know what needs to be done. I know how to do it. And thousands of words are coming out of me really fast these days. So that's a doable deadline, and we're going to make it happen. So the Magic and Cosmology book is the next major project, and that will be done very soon, as opposed to talking about it being done for a year, which, again, I'm sorry. So I'm going to show you. I've told you, but I am going to show you. I also want to say that what we've already got going on is Ross is in touch with people like Ed Greenwood doing Serenity City of Secrets. We're going to be meeting with him there, but deadlines are being set. Process is underway. Rosenberg and Dan McGirt for 2 of the other 3 remaining novellas. They've been in contact. We're working with them. A little change up for the 4th one because of how long things took and everything like that. Just had to make a change. It's a good one. I'm very excited about it. Ross Watson himself, who is a huge Shaintar fan, has a great character he has in mind, is going to do the 4th novella. So he's going to be working on that as well. So you can imagine he can probably deadline himself pretty good. Managing director deadlining him, whatever. It's going to be fun. So those 4 novellas are underway. Folks like Filamena Young and Steve Perrin and others, wonderful people, we've been in touch with them. They're still ready to go and do some great stuff with some of their guidebooks. So Ross is scheduling all of that. And in fact, as managing director, schedules, deadlines, things that were not happening for a year are happening now. So those are all in the pipeline. All right, let's get to Shaintar Gen Con, because that's a big deal. Coming up in a few days. First off, Legends Arise and Legends Unleashed will both be in print and for sale at the Studio 2 booth, 1317. I'll be there quite a bit myself, so, you know, I mean, if you can't crowd the booth, it's just going to be that kind of thing. But that's a good way to find out where Sean is, what's going on. When I'm not running games, I'll pretty much be living in the exhibit hall when it's open. I am running 3 games, though. Well, 4 maybe? The 3 that are scheduled are already full and have been since like minutes after the organization thing opened up and, you know, registration explode. However, there's always a damn good chance that people don't show, or I can squeeze a couple people at the table. So grab some generics. If you're not otherwise busy at the time, show up. The events, dates, times, and locations are all down in the show notes. And I might be able to squeeze you in. Also, watch my Twitter feed. Right? I think it's Sean Pat Fan, but you know, Sean Patrick Fannon's Twitter. Watch my Twitter feed, which also does directly feed to my Facebook account. I will announce a 4th pickup game via that venue in terms of when and where, and so that'll be a nice little surprise, cool thing for those of you who have been paying attention and continue to pay attention to my Twitter feed and Facebook. As well, Jody Black is putting up a list of all the Savage games that she can wrangle information about at the Studio 2 booth, which again is 1317. We didn't do a Savage Worlds, Savage Saturday Night this year. We've gotten away from that for the big conventions because they become impossible to manage. I understand Shane's thinking on this. Instead, we're trying to provide Savage V goodness 24/7 across the convention, and there's a lot of support for the GMs doing it, so it's still an organized thing, but instead of it just being Savage Saturday Night, it's Savage Worlds all weekend long, or all 4 days in this case. So again, Jody Black will have a list of that at the Studio 2 booth. Finally, Shaintar is up for 2 ENnie Awards. Legends Arise is up for Best Rules. Legends Unleashed up for Best Electronic Book. So if you're looking to hang out with the Big Irish at Gen Con and don't find me otherwise, come to the ENnie Awards. I would greatly appreciate your support as we see if we get a silver or gold, dare I say. I'm just happy to be nominated. I really do sincerely mean that. But it's going to be a fun time. And hanging out with Big Irish after the ENnie Awards is always kind of a hoot all by itself. I promise you that. It tends to be a good time. So 6:30 is the Cash Bar reception at the Grand Hall at the Historic Union Station, Friday, August 15th. And then the ceremony starts at 8 o'clock, same location. That's Friday night at Gen Con. All right, I did promise some thoughts about 5th edition D&D next, so let me get into that real quick. I have not really anticipated playing Dungeons & Dragons for a long time. Generally, it has been, no thanks, I don't really care to play, or, all right, I'll play because my friends that are hanging out, I want to be with my friends, and that's what is going on. I'd like to play something, and that's what they're running. I am really enjoying the online game that I'm playing under Darren Mott Jr. Via the Gamers Tavern podcast game table, or gamer table, a game table? Yeah. Darren Mott, by the way, and Ross Watson are the co-hosts for the Gamers Tavern. If you're not listening to that podcast, you should be. There's a lot of fantastic, fun, really cool stuff going on there. They have amazing guests. Occasionally they're stuck with me, but sometimes they have really awesome guests. And just covering an amazing gamut of topics. But the Gamers Table is their actual play stuff. And we've started and have gone through 2 sessions now. And there's also Andrea, who's on there. This is her first time ever playing any role-playing game, so this is a really cool experience for her. First time playing, and it's an online D&D game. Then there's Gary, and then there's the Grumpy Celt. Now, Andrea, Gary, and the Grumpy Celt are all playing dwarves. Ross is playing a swashbuckling human. There's a Morgan Ironwolf, I think she is. And she's actually a classic character from the 2nd edition days that he's resurrecting as a swashbuckling human type. And I'm playing a very grumpy blacksmith elf turned priest who's essentially started playing the straight man to her. So we're doing the buddy cop action adventure as D&D game thing. It's actually a lot of fun. But this is also fun, not in spite of, but because the rules are actually pretty cool. I've already talked a little bit about this online. I'll just reiterate one. I think the advantage disadvantage thing is amazing. It takes all the fiddly bits away from trying to figure out, well, this condition adds a +2, but this condition is a -3. And then there's this condition that if this happens, then, huh? You know, you can get really, really, really fiddly crunchy trying to figure out what's going on any given round of combat with some of the previous iterations. This one very creatively enables okay, this condition and this condition would create advantage situations, but this condition is a disadvantage situation, so we kind of balance it out, and at the end, it looks like either you're kind of flat up, just make your roll, d20, or you're at an advantage for various reasons, so you get to roll 2 d20 and take the better, Or, dude, you're hanging off the edge of a cliff and fighting with one hand. You're at a disadvantage. Roll 2d20 and take the lesser. So that is a brilliant mechanic. And if they, in fact, took that from somebody else, then kudos to whoever it is that they borrowed that from. But if nobody's doing that, designers, heads up, this is an interesting solution to that problem that I really like. As well, for the first time ever that I can say, they not only incentivize role-playing, which I've heard a lot of complaints, or read a lot of complaints. I'm like, why? If we're going to incentivize murdering creatures and taking their stuff and solving traps and all that other stuff, why not incentivize role-play? It is a role-playing game. But more in the fact that they've incentivized role-play by come up with a background, flaws, and all these cool things, play to that stuff, and you can get a resource called Inspiration. But you can spend that to get an advantage in combat, and then you want to do something in combat to get your inspiration back. So you are incentivized and inspired, encouraged to regain inspiration by playing to one of your flaws, or by otherwise invoking your background and your story in a role-play fashion so that the GM is compelled to give you inspiration back so that you can use it again, because it's a 1-0. You have it or you don't. Wow. Mike Merles, if you are watching this, thumbs up all the way. You and your team deserve great credit because you've created a game I want to play. Not just that I'll play because my friends are playing because I walked away from D&D a long time ago. I'm actually anticipating playing Dungeons & Dragons. I'm glad to see my D20s back out again. I'm looking at the books and going, yay! I looked at Paladin. I don't have the book yet, but I looked at another guy's book this weekend. Paladin, which is my big test for any version of D&D or D20 type game, is what does the Paladin look like? I can't wait to build and play a Paladin character in this game. Very excited about the stuff I'm seeing in there. Love how you integrated the weak sauce secondary spellcaster option as, okay, it's an option, but you can just spend those spell slots to make yourself a mighty smite man. Really brilliant solution there. Love that idea. And I'm just seeing more and more moments of that brilliance across what I'm seeing. So for the first time in a very long time, I am glad to be getting my D20s out. I'm looking at the Birthright game that Ross is planning on running. I'm going to be building a Paladin for that. My friend Sean Gore is talking about running a D20, a 5th edition game, and I'm thinking, I want to make sure I get some time to play. Nice job, D&D. Okay, so finally, big picture wrap up. I have over 250,000 words still in front of me before I can say that I have fulfilled my obligations from the Kickstarter. But those words are flowing. Projects are happening. We can see it happening. We see it being done. We see how those books are going to get done. You are going to get those books. There's going to be other content coming out that evolves from all of this. That is my first priority. That is the first priority of Sean Patrick Fannon, the first priority of Evil Beagle Games, is to fulfill those Kickstarter obligations, and that's happening. Not only is it going to happen, it is now happening. We do have other product lines that we're looking at. We have other projects that we're looking at. We're looking at other talented people, including Ross himself, producing some really cool things so that Evil Beagle is going to expand and have really cool stuff going on. I'm still honored and gratified to know how many people would like to work with Evil Beagle Games, despite how long it's taken for me to get some of this stuff done. And I intend to live up to that. I am primarily focused on Kickstarter rewards being fulfilled. After that, we'll start looking at some of the cool stuff that I'd like to do. But that's what's going on. And as I said, we're not just talking about it happening. You are now seeing it happen. And keep watching, because it's just going to be more exciting as we go. That's the wrap up. Thank you guys very much for your support and for watching again if you watched the first one because the sound was crap. Peace out. Keep the dice rolling. And for some of you, see you at Gen Con.